everyone, and welcome back to the CFCBlues podcast. I am your host, George Allen, and unfortunately today we are not joined by my co-host, Yusuf Batouche, but today we are joined by who I like to call Chelsea's number one fan. He's been around for many, many years. Been a Chelsea fan when we were in Division 2, in the old Division 2 days. It's my dad. How are you doing, Dad?
Hello, thank you very much. Yep, all good.
Today was originally going to be about the Chelsea versus Luton game, and it wasn't going to be very long. It was going to be about the same as Sunday's episode, but huge news have come in today, including our manager, or as I'd like to say now, former manager Frank Lampard has been sacked by Roman Abramovich. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, a little bit of a shock, but not overly surprised. He's been there 18 months. As we saw the other day, in amount of games he's played, he's the fifth longest serving manager under Abramovich. So I'm not overly surprised because it's the Chelsea way. I think it's quite telling that Abramovich has actually made a statement himself, because he doesn't normally do that. So I'm thinking it's not something he has actually done lightly, but he's obviously thinking of the club, because it hasn't been going brilliantly recently. So I think they possibly needed to do something, although personally I'd have liked to have given him more time, but it isn't to be. It was, like I say, it was a bit of a shock, but not a total surprise. I hope that makes sort of sense.
I understand where you're coming from. For me, I'm both happy and sad. I'm very sort of in the middle. I feel maybe, obviously, we know every manager deserves time. Even when you're in a bad bit of form like Chelsea are at the moment. But I feel like the form we're in has been going very badly for way too long. We saw Man United have that patch at the start of the season. It only lasted 2 to 4 games. Arsenal had it for probably a little bit longer than Chelsea, but they stuck with their manager and they're doing well now. Liverpool are going for it now. They're getting back on track and Klopp will deal with it. So I feel like maybe we were in bad form for too long, but also maybe you should have given him a bit more time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you've also got the fact that there's reports coming out that there was a bit of a backroom sort of rebellion from certain players. We're hearing that of all the transfers that are made, the only one Frank actually wanted was Ben Chilwell. So the others were Marina purchases rather than what Frank actually wanted. Hence, he was making a lot of noise about Declan Rice to see if that would sort of push her hand, but apparently not. I think the thing I'm sort of looking at is, by Frank going now, it kind of still keeps his legendary status intact, if you like. I mean, I sort of the person I sort of think of is Brian Gunn at Norwich. I don't know if you remember him, but he was a Norwich goalkeeper and absolute legend at the club. They absolutely loved him. He was a good keeper, but they loved him there. He came back as a manager a good few years later. Unfortunately, couldn't stop him going down, and then they almost took him down again. But because of that, they'd forgotten about his legendary status when he was a player, and he's pretty much despised now because he sort of wrecked the club during his time as manager. So I'm just wondering if that's got any dealings or anything to do with that, where Abramovich has sort of seen the way it's going and didn't want that to happen to Frank, because by all accounts they are good friends, and they sort of have family dinners and stuff. So he just wanted to sort of protect a bit of his legacy and do what's best for the club.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Maybe that could have been a deciding factor for Abramovich. I also feel that for me, I still absolutely love Frank Lampard the same way I did before he was even Derby manager, yet alone Chelsea manager. Had a great first season, absolutely phenomenal first season by all accounts. With what he had, he did really well. Because at the start of the season, it was content if we didn't get relegated, and then it was like, oh, hang on, top tens within a good shout here. Then all of a sudden, we were in the top four. And we were winning games and we were getting results in places people weren't expecting us to get results. So he was obviously doing something right then. But like you said, some of the players went against him, and there was 5 of them in total.
Well, that's sort of hearsay. We don't actually know that for fact. I mean, I think you sort of got to look at the current players and say some of you haven't stepped up to the plate, so you've got to take a bit of that on the chin. It's kind of a bit like when Conte was there and they had a bit of a falling out with some of the players, and the fans let it know on that first game back, and they booed the players, but then bang, straight back into it. They let them know how they felt, and that was that. So it's hopefully it'll be the same. We'll bounce back. I think you probably got to look at the players who are the winners and the losers, with Frank going, because last season he had no choice really but to throw the youngsters in the team, and some of them, as we know, have done superbly well. Whereas this season, second season syndrome, it's they were a bit more experienced, and it's been a bit more harder for them to impress. They've matured as players, but they've probably sort of lacked a bit of that sort of youthful exuberance, if you like. I think you've got to look at players like Billy Gilmore, Mason Mount, Zuma. I think Reece James will be fine, and a few players like that. Maybe Tammy, maybe Hudson-Odoi. Will they now get the chance? Because we know sort of Frank loved the youngsters. Will they still be in the team? You know, obvious winners I would say would probably be Rudiger, Havertz and Werner. Obviously they've got the German connection, but hopefully he can get the best out of them, because they haven't really delivered this season, so we need to get back to that.
Who are you talking about here?
Werner, the Germans.
Yeah, but who are you?
With Tuchel. Sorry.
Yes. I was about to get to that.
Yeah, sorry.
So it's Fabricio Romano, who has been very reliable over the last season or two with transfers on Twitter, on Instagram, on the news, on his own podcast even. He's been very reliable. He's come out and said that Thomas Tuchel has indeed already signed the contract. Whether this is true or not is... it probably is true if Fabricio is saying
and
it.
it's coming up on Sky Sports as well.
So
they don't usually put it up there. But Sky Sports understands that Tuchel is to be offered an 18-month contract with a year extension. But yeah, so I think there'll be some winners and losers out of this. I don't know. I mean, is that sort of Giroud? He was starting to get back in the fold with Lampard. Would that be then him out of the team? I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how it goes, because although we got a good squad, I think we're probably a bit overweighted. We need to get rid of some dead wood and see how it goes from there.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned Olivier Giroud there. He's coming back into the team. He's getting lots of goals. He did really well in the Champions League in the group stage, and even in the Premier League, he's got a few goals to his name this season. But with Tuchel, I feel like Tuchel, he'll obviously favour Werner as the main man. He'll favour Havertz, the German connection there, Rudiger, and I feel like he'll probably favour Tammy Abraham over Olivier Giroud. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last 6 months Giroud spends with Chelsea. Whether he signs another 1-year deal is a different question, really.
I like Giroud. He's a proper old-fashioned centre forward. You know, get the ball up to him, he holds it off. He's strong, he's direct, and he likes to find the back of the net. So it's a shame. I like Giroud. But hopefully, like I say, he'll get the best out of people like Werner and Havertz, and we can push on.
Yeah, definitely. It is a huge, massive news. Obviously, there was a lot of speculation he was going to go after the Leicester game. He didn't, and then it came to the Luton game, and I thought he might have a few games because this is a pretty pointless game unless we lose.
Yeah,
So
I think personally, I think the decision was already made. I think they started probably thinking about it after the Man City game, and I think they made up their mind after the Leicester game because both them games we were pretty dire. So I think the decision was already made, and if we won 27-0 yesterday, I think he'd have still been gone.
that is a very, very fair point. So Tuchel is to take over. Whether he'll be at our next game, which is on Wednesday, we might have. Who knows? Jody Morris might take the helm for a game.
I haven't heard what's happened to Jody Morris, but I did see a tweet that said, "Thanks a lot, Jody." So I'm assuming it's him, Lampard, and the backroom.
Oh, okay. So
Backroom.
what it was like with Sarri when Zola went as well. So it was sort of the manager and his team.
I don't actually know that, but from the tweet I saw, it looks like that. So
Okay. Well, who knows? He might just get his first game on Wednesday, which is in 2 days' time. So that is a big game. But we spoke about the Luton game there, and that's the whole premise of this episode. We haven't even got to it yet. We're 11 minutes in. So spoken about Lampard and Tuchel and the players. As it is breaking news today, and it is absolutely huge news for Chelsea fans and the club. So we'll get into the premise of the episode. First off, the score was 3-1. Before we get into all the stats and statistics, what did you think of the performance from the lads?
wasn't best, but we done what we have to do. It's a cup game. We won it. We're through to the next round. Job done. Thank you very much. I mean, there was some very, very good stuff in there, but there was some, again, a bit of a Kepa clanger, but we done what we had to do. You know, if we win 1-0 or 10-0, you only go one round. You know, so I think Luton are a good little team, decent, tasty, good little team. You know, and you think they only survived on the last day last season by the skin of their teeth, and they're mid-table, they're doing well, and I wish them the best of luck. They do look a tidy little team there. They've got a good work in progress going on down there. So.
Yeah, they got an excellent manager down there. I can't remember his name, but I remember he was he had them in League Two, and he's taken them all the way to the Championship. And was it you said yesterday that 6-7 years ago Luton were in?
Yeah, they were in the conference. 5 years ago, and I think it was 6 of those players that played yesterday played for Luton in the conference. So they've come a long way, and they've obviously done very, very well.
Yeah, and obviously you said the old cliche that whether you win 1-0 or 10-0, it's very similar in darts actually with the 9-dart leg. If you hit a 9-dart leg at the end of the game, it's only one leg of the match. It doesn't win you the match, so it's quite similar there. So score was 3-1. Chelsea goal scorers were Abraham, and Abraham. In the 11th, 17th, and 74th. I thought it was a perfect hat trick.
No, I checked that. It wasn't.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was a left foot, right foot, and header, but it was 2 right foots and a header. And then Jordan Clark for Luton, scoring from an absolute disaster class in defending, and an absolute more than a howler that is from Kepa. I'm saying a disaster class in defending because Emerson pretty much just stood there and did nothing, and no one marked the man in the box. And if you give a professional footballer a shot on goal, it's about 7 or 8 times out of 10, it's going in the back of the net.
To be fair to Kepa, on target?
3 out of 8.
3 out of 8, and I know one of them he made an absolute worldie of a save with his left hand. So he let in a clanger, but that would have brought it to 2-2 if that one would have gone in. But he made an absolute worldie save with his left hand. So fair dues for that. I mean, we all remember the clangers. Very few people remember the good saves. So, But yeah, maybe he may be back in the fold now.
Well, with Tuchel, I don't know much about Tuchel other than the fact he was with PSG. He won. He didn't do too well with PSG this season, but who's gone there now? Pochettino's also struggling in the league with them. So who knows? Maybe it's just the PSG team themselves. Maybe they didn't want him in there, so they put, like we did with Mourinho a few seasons back, deliberately aren't performing. But I'm hoping, like you said, the German connection will be there.
And he did take PSG to the Champions League final last year.
Yes,
so.
that is a good point.
But PSG got some very good players.
We have also got some very good players that haven't performed this season. But if we look at the statistics of the game, Chelsea had 21 shots, 7 on target. Luton had 8, 3 on target. And the possession was 68-32, 68 being for Chelsea, 32 being for Luton. So I just want to know, 21 shots, only 7 on target, a third of them were on target, and only 3 of them went in. I know 3-1's a good solid win, but against Luton, who they do have the number 1 Croatian goalkeeper, to be fair to them.
He played well. He made one boo-boo for one of the goals, but the rest of the game he played well. He made a couple of good saves, and even the penalty was actually a very good save. It wasn't as though Werner put it into row Z. He did get it on target. I know it was a reasonably decent height for the keeper, but he got across really well. Probably made it look a little bit better than it was, but it was a good save, in my opinion.
I want to know, with these 14 shots that weren't on target, what's happened there?
I don't know. We had a few close shaves, but I think some of them were snapshots and stuff like that. So it's hopefully it will get better. We're through. That's the main thing. And now we go to Barnsley
again.
Away.
Oh, we were at home to. So I this might sound a little silly, but is it round 5 or is it the quarterfinals?
Round 5.
Round 5. Okay.
Round 6 is the quarterfinals.
Okay. I've never.
And then the semi-finals are round 7,
and the final is round 8. Okay, so
yeah.
there's 8 rounds other than
the preliminaries. Yeah.
See, I've never sort of understood the FA Cup, because I know the Scottish Cup has like 7 rounds before it gets to its quarters, which is ridiculous. So I thought, because England, they have a lot more teams, I thought it'd be very similar, but clearly not.
The more teams you have, yes, you may have a few more rounds, but we have a lot of preliminary rounds, and no matter how many teams you are, you're halving it every round.
That is very true. That is very true. Speaking of preliminary rounds, there's actually a preliminary for the preliminary round, which is odd. But do you think facing Barnsley in round 5 is a free ticket into...
You'd like to think so, but no, absolutely not. Barnsley, they're not doing great in the league. They're doing better at the moment than they were earlier in the season, but it's a free ticket for them as well. There's no pressure on them. They're not expected to win, and we've been there before and lost in the cup a few years ago. So no, it's not a free ticket at all. You've got to win these games. I mean, I know, so like Wolves against Chorley on Friday. Did Chorley play really well? You bet they did. And Wolves come out, and you'd expect Wolves to win, but my God, Chorley gave him a game, and
it took an absolute worldie of a goal,
exactly,
to win the game.
So it's a free ticket for Barnsley, because no one's expecting them to win. So it doesn't matter if they don't, in theory. But you're always in with a shout. As they say, you've got to be in it to win it, and they're in it, and they'll be looking to win it.
Exactly. Obviously, they played us earlier in the season at Stamford Bridge, which we won 6-0 in the League Cup, which we then got knocked out in the next round. So who knows? Maybe history will repeat itself. I don't think it'll be a 6-0 win. I think it will be 3 or 4. I
mean, it's a game we should win, but never ever take these games for granted.
Exactly. That's what loads of fans, they make mistakes. Look at a few seasons back, Arsenal versus Leyton Orient about 10 years ago, when Orient were in League One at the time, and Arsenal were fighting for the title when they had a really good team. Orient took them to a replay.
You got that down the years. You've got that in the cup right down
Chelsea,
the years.
Bradford.
Absolutely, and we were at home.
We were.
We were 2-0 up at half time.
They scored 4 goals.
And lost.
We lost 4-2.
So never, ever, ever count your chickens in the cup.
Indeed, indeed. Well, we've just passed the 20-minute mark. I think we'll call it a day. Thank you very much for being here. Yusuf will be back for the next episode.
Thank you for having me. Most appreciated.
It is. It's always good to get what I call a professional opinion, because you've been watching the game for so long.
It's an old jaded opinion.
But what I will say is, maybe one of the days when there isn't a football, maybe there's an international break, we'll get you back and we'll ask you some questions about your experiences at Chelsea as a Chelsea fan. Obviously, you watched us in the old Division 2, which must have been an experience, I must say.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that.
Good days. Good days.
Good atmospheres. I'm gonna guess as well. But we'll get to that when there's no football on, or maybe during the season break. But yeah, that's it all for today, guys. Thank you once again for being here. And there'll be another episode tomorrow for the Wolves preview. There's a lot of football at the moment, which means a lot of episodes. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Dan, again, and we'll see you guys later.